Ready to jump on a runaway train to a whole new level of zombie movie.
Okay.
Buckle up because today's deep dive takes us straight to Train to Busan.
All right.
You know how Korean cinema's been like blowing everyone away lately?
Right.
Parasite, Squid Game, the list goes on.
Yeah.
Well, Train to Busan was way ahead of the curve,
Mm-hmm.
grabbing global attention years
Yeah.
ago. We've got some serious film analysis here, not just your typical zombie movie review.
Okay.
Ready to uncover why Train to Busan became such a phenomenon.
Yeah, let's do it.
So it wasn't just a hit with the critics or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It was a box office sensation.
Huge. It was interesting, Train to Busan, on a tiny budget, it made almost $100 million.
Wow.
That means people were really captivated by it.
Yeah, that's a lot of people buying tickets. So what's the source saying about how this movie, Zombies and All, actually breathes new life into the genre?
Well, it goes way beyond just escaping the undead. This film, it cleverly weaves social commentary into this, really thrilling plot, almost like a stealth mission for your brain.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this stealth mission.
Yeah.
How does Train to Busan pull off this social commentary thing?
So imagine this. The Train to Busan isn't just transport.
Okay.
It's like a miniature version of Korean society, highlighting its different levels, its anxieties, even its humanity. Everything's exposed.
You're saying the train is like a metaphor.
Exactly.
Tell me more. This is fascinating.
Let's take Seok-woo, our workaholic financier. He represents the upper class, always focused on profits, efficiency, even with a zombie apocalypse raging around him. Then you've got everyday people, families struggling to survive, even a group of high school athletes. Each passenger embodies a different part of Korean society, all crammed together in this metal tube speeding towards danger.
So the train becomes this pressure cooker of social dynamics.
Yeah.
All while they're trying to avoid becoming zombie chow.
Right. As the tension builds, the film forces us to confront some uncomfortable truths about ourselves. How fear and desperation can, twist good intentions. And how easily those in power manipulate chaos for their own benefit. It's unsettlingly relevant, don't you think?
Totally. And speaking of unsettling, the analysis pointed out something that really struck me. The film isn't just scary because of the zombies. It's about how fear manipulates the characters and drives their actions.
That's a really important observation.
Yeah.
One scene that highlights this is when a passenger gets wrongly accused of being infected. What follows is a chilling illustration of mob mentality, driven by the fear of the unknown.
That's like a mini metaphor within the bigger train metaphor, right?
Yeah.
This glimpse into how fear and scapegoating can rip a community apart. Where else do we see this play out in the real world? I mean, it feels like there's so many examples.
Oh, yeah, tons. It's a scary thought, isn't it?
Yeah.
How easily fear can turn us against each other. And Train to Busan really drives that point home. It's like the real monsters aren't always the ones with decaying flesh.
You said it.
Yeah.
So besides highlighting how fear can manipulate people, what else did you find interesting about how the film uses fear as a theme?
Well, the film brilliantly uses those external threats,
Okay.
the zombies, to expose the internal ones we pose to one another. Prejudice, selfishness, that primal instinct to choose survival over empathy.
It's like the zombies are a catalyst, forcing these characters to confront their own inner demons.
Exactly. And the setting amplifies everything. Remember that feeling of being trapped, that growing sense of claustrophobia as the characters get further into the crisis? Our source argues that the train's confined space is another brilliant tool the director uses.
Right. The analysis really digs into how that confined space of the train ratchets up the tension.
Yeah.
Every train car, every corridor becomes another potential death trap. It adds this whole other layer of intensity to the story.
And because they're stuck together, forced to make these impossible choices as a group, their true natures are magnified.
Right, yeah.
You see the best and the worst of humanity up close.
Yeah.
Take, for example, Seok-woo's dilemma of whether to risk his own neck to save a group of strangers.
Right.
Talk about a moral dilemma at 100 miles an hour.
Speaking of Seok-woo, the analysis mentions that his character undergoes a significant transformation throughout the film. For those who might not remember every detail of the movie, can you remind us about Seok-woo at the beginning of the film?
Of course. When we first meet Seok-woo, he's this, typical self-centered workaholic.
Okay.
More absorbed in his phone than his own daughter. A character type we see pretty often in our, hyper-connected world.
For sure. It's almost like he has to relearn how to connect with people on a basic human level.
Yeah.
But the question is, can someone like that actually change? Can someone so used to putting himself first actually learn to put others first?
And the film doesn't offer any easy answers. Siku's journey isn't about a simple, clean redemption. It's about that messy, often painful process of confronting your flaws when you're facing, like, unimaginable circumstances. We see this most clearly when he starts to understand the impact of his actions on his daughter.
So it's not like he sees a zombie and suddenly becomes a hero.
Exactly. His transformation is gradual, earned through struggle and difficult choices. And that's what makes his eventual acts of self-sacrifice that much more impactful. He doesn't just change overnight, he makes a conscious decision to be better.
This really highlights something the analysis mentioned. The film avoids easy answers
Right.
or clear-cut heroes and villains.
Totally.
It's more about the complexity of human nature, right?
Yes. And that's what makes it more than just a typical zombie flick. It asks us to consider the nuances of good and bad in ourselves and others. Are we capable of selflessness even when facing, like, death? That's a question that stays with you long after the credits roll.
It's true that lingering question really gets under your skin.
Yeah.
I think that's the sign of a truly great film, don't you think? When it stays with you,
Yeah.
makes you think about not just what the characters would do,
Yeah.
but what you yourself would do
Right.
in that situation.
Absolutely. And that's where Train to Busan really shines.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't settle for cheap thrills, though it definitely delivers on those too. It uses the high-stakes backdrop of a zombie apocalypse
Right.
to hold up a mirror to our own society,
Yeah.
forcing us to examine our values and how we'd react when faced with the unthinkable.
So it's about more than just surviving a zombie horde.
Yeah,
It's about holding on to your humanity in the process.
precisely.
Okay.
The film reminds us that sometimes the most terrifying monster isn't the one with, like, rotting flesh,
Right.
but the darkness we harbor within ourselves.
If you had to boil Train to Busan down to its essence, what would you say is its most powerful message?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
For me, it's the idea that even in the face of unimaginable horror,
Okay.
even when everything around us is falling apart, we still have a choice.
Okay.
A choice between giving in to fear and selfishness or clinging to our compassion for others, to our own humanity.
And that choice, that internal struggle, is what makes Train to Busan so captivating.
Yeah.
It's a zombie film with a heart,
It is.
a thrilling action flick that also makes you think about important social issues. It's a powerful reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope and humanity can endure.
Well said. It's a film that stays with you, provokes deep thought, and maybe even inspires a little soul searching.
Absolutely. So to wrap things up,
Okay.
we'll leave you with this final thought. If you were on that train to Busan, speeding towards an uncertain future, what choices would you make?
Ooh.
And how would those choices reflect on the world we live in today? Until next time, keep diving into those deeper meanings.